Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Savvy Stylist podcast. I am your host, Amy Walker, and we are continuing a really big conversation today. Last week, we started to dive into the topic of burnout and what that looks like in the beauty industry. And today, we're going to continue that conversation. We're going to have a few talks about this because the reality is that burnout doesn't look the same for everybody. It doesn't happen on the same timeline for everybody. And how we deal with it is not the same for everybody. And so this conversation really does need to be multifaceted and it needs to be in depth and really talked about and understood so that you can take where you're at in your business, in your life, and the things that are causing overwhelm and anxiety and stress, ultimately leading to burnout in your own life, and you can apply what works for you. So, today's training is not going to be a super long training. This is not going to be a take all day kind of thing. This topic, although big and really important, a really important component and piece of burnout, it is a big one. It is not complex and it is not a hard one to understand and figure out how to apply it to your life. So, with that being said, let's dive into this today. Burnout is very quickly being one of the number one things in the beauty industry that is causing people to leave. And one of the reasons that this is happening is because we have this idea. I just had a conversation today with somebody on the internet about their struggle in trying to find employees because so many new hairdressers are coming out of school, out of their beauty school, wherever that was, whether they're in, hairdressing or aesthetics or whatever. They are coming out of school with the idea and the mindset that they're just going to go and open their own business. They're just going to go be their own boss, do their own thing, and they don't want any part of being inside of or employed by any other person. And I love the intention behind that. I love the excitement behind that. It is one of the things that I like to pull into my trainings, into my mentorship programs. When you work one-on-one with me or come into my containers, we we like to reignite that excitement, that flame, that fire, the passion, the desire that those individuals have for the industry because it is so important that we use that and we hold it and we maintain it and we leverage it to keep us going strong in our businesses when it gets tough because those days happen. Here's what gets really tricky when those individuals come out of school. I don't want to say hairdressing school because there is a wide variety of jobs inside the beauty industry that people take schooling for. But when you come out of school and you have this massive fire and this passion and this desire, and then you go straight from school to being your own boss, doing it on your own, there is a massive gap in your education and your experience, your working experience, your hands on experience that happens. It is a big job to be an owner, to be the boss. Not only are you a student, essentially, you've come out of school, you know lots, but you don't know a lot, if that makes sense. You need to be able to fill in point A being fresh out of school to point B or point Z in this case being the boss of a business. Okay, so what ends up happening here, and I'm going to speak directly to this in this episode because this is a big piece of what I'm seeing. And it's, I think, helpful for owners to understand what's going on, but it's also really helpful for those newer industry professionals. And when I say new, I mean like in hairdressing school up to about 3 years, 4 years into the industry. That, in my mind, is still in that new phase. So it's important that everybody understands where everyone is coming from. And I think the more that we can understand this, the more we can do about it. So, what ends up happening in that gap, and this is what we're seeing in the industry in this current time in 2024, is all of these individuals wanting to start their own businesses fresh out of school. And again, I love that for you. I love that passion. I love that desire. I love that drive. What happens is you do that and you leave hairdressing school, you leave beauty school, and you find a suite to rent, or maybe you have a space in your home, or you open a business somewhere else, build a building, whatever that looks like, and you run into being not only a working professional, you are now the boss. Maybe you have staff, maybe you don't. The the responsibilities of being the owner of a business are massive on top of trying to be the stylist, the professional, still learning the job. It's really hard to be the boss of a business when you don't fully understand all of the jobs required to make that business run, when you don't fully understand the costs that come along with the business to make the business run. And so what happens is we pile a whole bunch of really big jobs. We put a whole bunch of really big hats on our head and we try and be them all without actually knowing how to do any of them very well. And this is a conversation about building your capacity to hold and do all of these things required in order to be super successful. And the conversation around building your capacity relates to all parts of life, all parts of business, but specifically in the beauty industry, we need to understand what it means to build our capacity. We need to understand how to build our capacity so that we can be super successful and not burn out, right? At the end of the day, that is what these conversations are all about. We are really wanting to master and get ahead of burnout. And I'm going to say this over and over again because I really want you guys to understand this conversation and the importance of it. So, what does it look like to build capacity? This looks like picking one task, one new thing, one new skill, one new whatever it is, getting really comfortable with it, which means practicing over and over again until you're comfortable. And with comfort comes confidence. The more comfortable we get doing something, the more confident we get in doing that thing. And it becomes second nature to us to do the thing. Okay. So when we're talking about coming out of beauty school, you're building confidence that might take longer for some of you than others, depending on your skill set, depending on your schooling, depending on who you mentored under, depending on the work experiences that you had, depending on where you got hired. Okay. There is no right or wrong in this. And I want you to understand that. I want you to hear me when I say it does not matter how long it takes you to learn those skills. The truth is, you will learn these things your entire career. I am 20 years in and I am still learning how to do things. I'm a forever student. That is this industry, to be a forever student. It gives you an edge, it keeps you on your toes. It makes it so that you never have to be the professional who has to tell a client that you don't know how to do something. You don't want to be the one in the back room YouTubing how to do what it is your client just asked you for. You want to know how to do it very confidently. Okay, that comes from practice and experience. And so the more that we do this, the more confident we become, and then we can build on it. Okay, so when you're coming out of school, I'm just going to give you a bit of an idea of what it might look like to start to build that capacity. So when you are fresh out of school, your first step is going to be gaining the skill set, gaining the experience, gaining the confidence to do the work, create the art, do the hair, the colors, the cuts, all the things. That is your first job. And the more comfortable that you get doing that, the more confident you are, and the more second nature it becomes. Then we add in, building our clientele. The more comfortable you get with how to present yourself, how to advertise yourself, how to get it out there, all of the things that come along with that, the more comfortable you get, the more confident that you get. Okay? When you're talking about going from school to being the owner, the boss, the CEO, the one who's in charge of everything, what happens is we skip all those steps. We skip all of the confidence building, we skip all of the education, we skip all of the time it takes to be comfortable with the job we need to do. And so all of a sudden, we are wearing 18 different hats and we don't know where to start, how to do any of the things well. And we just keep piling them up because now we're the owner. We've got to pay the bills and we've got to stock the shelves and we've got to get the staff and we've got to make sure it's clean and we've got to do advertising and we've got to do insurance and we've got to pay our bills. And like the list goes on. Yes. And so we scramble and we do the things and we're not really sure if we did it right, but it's sort of done. And so then we move on to the other thing and then we got to come back to that. And we do this like ping pong game until we are so overwhelmed because all of a sudden we've got to a point where because we've not done any of them well, we haven't built confidence in any of the tasks, things start to slip and stuff starts to go wrong. And we don't know how to tackle the things that have gone wrong because we didn't build the confidence in the first place. We didn't get comfortable and learn what inside and out what it was we were supposed to be doing. And so this cycle happens and we get overwhelmed and we get stressed out and it continues and it continues. And this is how burnout compounds in these situations. Okay. This is how new industry professionals are leaving the industry really quickly, like in record time. Again, I love the enthusiasm. I love the excitement. I love the drive. I love that you guys want to go out and be boss babe CEOs right off the hop. What I don't want for you is to burn out before you've even struck gold, to burn out before it even got good, where you went, no way, this is not for me. This is no fun. I don't like this. I'm not enjoying this. There's no money to be made. There's no clients to be had. And it's because you're running around through your business and your life like a chicken with their head cut off because you're overwhelmed, because you didn't learn the things in the first place. So this is what capacity, building your capacity looks like. And what I would encourage you to do today is to just take a few moments of reflection and look at what areas in your life this might be relevant for you. It can be your personal life, it can be your professional life. Maybe one carries into the other. Maybe there's areas of your professional life that are struggling in the capacity area because you put too many things on your plate. And then the stress and the chaos of that is rolling over into personal life. It happens so easily, you guys. And it is a big contributing factor to why people will leave because they see the burnout happening. They see the overwhelm and the stress. They see how it's affecting their personal life. And they just choose to do something different. Instead of doing something about it, they just do something different. They just walk away from it. And that's not the goal here. That is not what we're after here. So when we talk about building our capacity, I talk a lot about structuring your year as a beauty industry professional to have 3, maybe 4 educational events a year. So looking at something quarterly. The reason I say that is because you need time to learn the skill set and then implement and practice to gain the confidence to be really good at that thing, whatever that thing was. And then you can move on to the next one. If you go to a class and you learn 5 different haircuts and 3 color techniques and a specialty placement and then an updo, you've already forgotten by the end what the first thing was. Okay? So I know that's a bit extreme, but the point is that when you put too much on your plate, it makes it really hard to focus on what the most important things are for you to put your energy into at any one given time. So I coach on quarterly education because it gives you implementation time, it gives you practice time so that you can become really comfortable with the how to, with the steps of how to complete the look or whatever it is. And it gives you time to build confidence in doing that before you move on to the next educational event. Sometimes it's really helpful to plan out your year's educational events as best as possible so that maybe one thing is a technical skill, maybe the next thing is a business, maybe one is a mindset, and then another technical. Spacing it out so that you're not overwhelming with the same things over and over again. This also goes for when we're wanting to start a business. We need to make sure that we bring in the right people, that we take the time to learn the skill sets required to be a business owner, what that looks like, so that we can be comfortable in what those tasks are to be able to then be the boss, be the CEO. When I was working, before I opened my salon, I worked part of the time as a salon manager inside of a beautiful salon and spa for 10 years. And in that 10 years, I took those 10 years, I should say, to learn everything. But it took me a long time to do this. I took the time to learn my own skill set, to build my own experience. It was in those first couple of years that I became an educator. And so I took 3 years being an educator, doing my own trainings, becoming really confident in what it was I was teaching on so that I could then go and teach it to other people. It took me time and I allowed the time to learn the skill sets, to be really comfortable, to build the confidence so that I could have the capacity to not only do my job, but then go and teach it to other people. In the time that I was working as a salon manager, I learned and got comfortable with and built the capacity to be the manager, what that looked like. There were, all of the skills from, um, staffing and ordering and retail and scheduling and maintenance and all of the things that went along with that. Had I just gone straight into trying to be a salon manager before I even understood how to manage a salon, how to run my own self, how to do my clients, I would have been it would have been chaos. I probably would have quit because it's a big job. But because I had taken the time to build my skill set, building my confidence, and then in turn building my capacity, and I did one thing at a time, building on each other. When it came time to open my own salon, I was very confident in all of the skill sets required to be a salon owner. But if I had just gone from, say in that first 6 months of being in the working field straight into being a salon owner, I'm not sure how long I would have lasted because it's a big job. I certainly wouldn't have made it 20 years down the road without burning out. That I can tell you for sure. But because I took the time to build my skill sets, to practice those skill sets, to build the confidence, expanding my capacity to hold all of these things, I was very successful. It turned out really well. It has been an incredible, juicy career, the career that I desired to have, but I took the time to build the capacity. This is the same. Maybe some of you haven't been in the industry for long enough to truly understand this, or maybe you are the listener who has just come out of hairdressing school and that is your goal, to open your own business. I want you to hear me when I say this. And I can we can use all sorts of examples to make this make sense, okay? That aren't directly the beauty industry. If you are a parent, okay? Here's one. If you went from having a brand new baby till the next day having a teenager, you'd be a hot mess because you need to build the skills one at a time, building the confidence one at a time, right? When you're learning to ride a bike, you don't just get on the bike and then start riding. You have to learn the skills, the how to, the how it works, the why it works, the balance, the strength to hold the steering wheel, how to start, how to stop, what your brakes are, all of those things. You don't just go from sitting on a bike to riding a bike. There's everything in between. If your parent puts you on a bike and then said, okay, go ride, and let you go, and you fell every single time because you had no idea how to do it, would you ever get back on a bike? Probably never. You'd be like, this is stupid. I'm not riding a bike. It's kind of the same in business. It's kind of the same in your business. And whether you're a salon owner, whether you become an owner, a CEO, if you are in this industry, your business is your business. You are a business owner, no matter how you work, no matter where you work. Okay, we talk about this a lot too. So if you just got on a bike and your parents said, okay, go, have fun, and you kept falling and they just kept saying, well, why can't you go ride the bike? Why aren't you riding the bike? You're like, I don't know how to ride the bike. And then you struggle and you hurt yourself a few times and then you'd say, okay, I'm done. This is not for me. I'm out. That's what's happening in the beauty industry, is that we're just not getting comfortable riding the bike. We want to ride the bike. Like riding a mountain bike is maybe downhill racing is your goal, but you don't know how to ride the bike yet. So you got to learn all of those skills in between to be able to build the capacity to race the bike, to go straight down a mountain, to do I don't know, a triathlon. I'm not a bike rider, obviously. The point is, and I'm hoping that you're following and understanding what it is that I'm saying, is that you have to build the capacity and you have to learn and get comfortable with the skill set to be able to be the owner, to be the CEO, to run the business. And when we skip all of those in between steps, it causes burnout. And it's causing burnout faster and faster and faster. And there are less and less professionals in this industry. And the owners are seeing it because they can't hire staff because they all want to go open their own businesses. And this is the cycle. And so my hope, and if you're listening to this episode and you are a salon owner or you know of somebody who is doing this exact same thing, I want you to send them this episode. I want you to send them this podcast, because the more awareness we can get around what is causing burnout, all the different causes of burnout in this industry, if we can get ahead of this, I truly believe, like from the bottom of my soul, that we can make the beauty industry incredible again. And I know that there are lots of you who understand what it is I'm saying, and you're doing the things and you're doing the work and you're putting in the time and you are building incredible legacy careers. And I am so grateful to you. But you guys are the ones who need to share this from the freaking rooftops. The ones who are putting in the effort and the energy and building your capacity and building these incredible legacy careers and businesses. You need to be the ones who are shouting this from the rooftops, sharing this far and wide, because we need more people like me, like you, talking about this. Because unfortunately, what happens is that nobody talks about it. And so people get into these situations, professionals get out there and they think, I can do this. It's no big deal. Look at that person doing it. If they do it, then I can do it. You can do it, but you're missing a bunch of the steps. And by the time you realize that you've missed all of the steps, you are already burnt out and it's already too late. So we need to get in front of people sooner, earlier in their careers. Start this conversation. Keep this conversation going. It's a big part of the industry. I love you guys so much. I am not going to take up any more of your time today. I am just so passionate about this. I hope that you feel that from my message, from the things that I'm sharing. If you got any value from this episode, I would love it if you shared it. I would love for you to follow along. Make sure you're following the podcast. Leave me a review. Let me know what you loved. Let me know your takeaways. Send this to a friend. Share this with your hair bestie. Let's get this conversation going. All of these conversations. A lot of what I'm going to bring to you guys is the unspoken pieces of the industry that I just know that if we can get talking about more and get more comfortable with it, as comfortable as we are sharing hair formulas, we can move mountains, you guys. I love you so much. Thank you so much for being here. If you do share this to your social media, in your stories, please make sure you tag me at the Soul Centric Stylist. I will have all of that in the show notes for you. Tune in again next week. We're going to continue this conversation. I've got so much for you guys on this. And as always, if there is something that you would love to hear from me, if there's a topic you want me to hit on, if there is something you're like, ooh, I need to know her opinion on this, what is her take? What would she do? Send me a DM, get into my inbox, ask me the questions, send me your love notes. I would love to talk about all of the things. I love you so much. Have an amazing day, and I will see you guys next week on the Savvy Stylist podcast. Mwah.